Welcome into this Friday edition of ESPN FC. Craig Burley, Shaka Hislop, Alejandro Moreno, Sebastian Salazar here in studio. We have an hour-long show for you today. Of course, Champions League draw, Europa League draw, some very interesting comments coming out of Madrid and Paris and Munich. We also have some people we're going to be hearing from throughout the show. One, Gab Marcotti. That's right, we got an hour to fill. We're also going to hear from Sid Lowe, as well as Sid, Julian Laurent. There you go. Now, why do we need all of these people? Why do we have to fill an hour? Good question. How else are we possibly going to talk about the upcoming 48-team FIFA World Cup? No, of course not that. We have the final 8 of the Champions League. Here is the draw as conducted this morning. Ajax and Juventus, CR7, against the team that knocked out his former mates. Winner of that gets the winner of the All-English quarterfinal between Spurs and City. Spurs' new stadium should be ready, I think, for the first leg of that one. Of course, Liverpool draws Porto, somewhere Stevie Nicol is, I would say, doing handstands, but I don't think that's
He's doing something else.
Possibility.
Not because of the draw.
And the winner of that gets Manchester United and Barcelona. A showdown there of the Blue Bloods as we take a look at the odds to advance to the semifinals, and really just paints the picture. There are clear favorites and clear underdogs in each of these quarterfinal matchups. The 4 favorites, Juve, Liverpool, Barcelona, Man City, all kept apart in this quarterfinal round. I have like 6 different people to choose from. Not sure who. Let's start with Jules. Jules, as you saw the draw take place this morning, what was your reaction?
I loved it. I thought it was a brilliant draw. Like you said, there's a favorite in each of them, but there's also an upset very possible in each of them, pretty much. Maybe apart from the Liverpool-Porto game. But apart from that, you could also see Ajax maybe knocking out Juve. You could see United maybe have another miracle against Barcelona, and Pochettino against Guardiola in the Spurs against City. You know, there's also could be an upset there. So I think it's a very good draw.
Shaka, you were the one that was, I think, on yesterday's show, hoping that the favorites would be kept apart. You got exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, I'd prefer to see these teams, the big European teams that are still left, a little bit further down in the competition. That being said, you've got a couple of clubs in there still playing with house money. Ajax after their miracle at the Bernabeu. You've got Manchester United after their turnaround against PSG. I don't think a whole lot is expected of them. And as good as Spurs were against Dortmund, you just feel against City that they will be outmatched. So there are upsets to be had there. Porto probably having the easiest route to this point. So write those smaller clubs off at your peril, but you do want to see the bigger clubs certainly later in the competition.
Greg, what did you make of the draw?
Well, I didn't watch the draw.
Okay. What did you make of the results?
I don't watch any draws because of the biggest bowlers in history. You know why? You can do it in 30 seconds and it'll probably take 30 minutes. Boring you to tears, so I didn't watch it. Why would you watch it when you can just go on your phone and get the draw half an hour later?
Why don't we talk about it instead of talking about not watching it?
Well, I'll go for the favourites. There you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you like the draw? I mean, you like the matchups?
Not bothered. 8 teams, quarterfinals. I'm going to go with the bookies. I'll go with the favourites. Simple as that.
Ale?
I do think that there are three of these matchups that are very clear. But once you get to the Barcelona-Manchester United one, I don't think it's as clear as it may seem. I don't think the difference between these 2 teams is as big as it may seem. Some of the things that make Barcelona vulnerable are some of the things that Manchester United do very well under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. At their very best, they have looked like a team that they can transition very well on counter-attack opportunities, that they can utilize the speed of Rashford and Martial and Lingard, and that they can be the sort of group that if they force turnovers out of Barcelona, even though Barcelona is going to have a lot of possession of the ball, they can then expose the lack of ability or the inability by Barcelona to be able to keep up over distance in 1v1 situations. And so, therefore, I do think that there's an opportunity there for Manchester United. But once I get very excited about Manchester United and maybe their chances, I also think that maybe Barcelona is too good with their possession of the ball, that they're going to force everybody back, and that even if Manchester United wins the ball, they don't have an outlet. And oh, by the way, they also don't have Lionel Messi, and at that point is when I lean Barcelona.
Speaking of Barcelona, let's bring in Sid Lowe. Sid, what's been the reaction to drawing Manchester United in the quarterfinals for Barca?
Well, the main thing, of course, is that it's not just drawing Manchester United in the quarterfinals. It's also a path all the way through to the final. So in that sense, this has been received in Spain as being pretty much the perfect draw for Barcelona. That, you know, they avoid Juventus until a potential final. That they avoid Manchester City, who most people here think are the other strongest side in the competition. And so, from a Spanish point of view, or at least from a pro Barcelona point of view, I think there has been a sense of satisfaction at this draw. And as you can imagine, from Real Madrid fans, there's been a sense of irritation at this draw because they look at it and go, look, Barcelona have been given an easy way through. Now, it's not easy at all. And actually, I was thinking this the other day before the draw, looking at the 8 teams left in the competition, and actually even before the Juventus Atletico game, and so you didn't yet know which one of those two were going through, and you think, you know what, there's 5 teams that could win this, and there isn't an obvious favourite among the 5. At least in my opinion, there wasn't an obvious favourite among the 5. This draw, as you've all rightly said, actually looks like it does kind of sort that out a little bit and leave us with what feels like a semi-clear semi-final, but still not any clearer in terms of who will actually win it.
Gab, what'd you make of the draw?
Well, I was thinking of the you know, when you talk about Ajax and Porto and perhaps some surprises and them being there, and Manchester United, of course. I thought, wow, those would have been some great storylines, right? The PSG Barcelona rematch, Ronaldo going back to take on Real Madrid. But you know what? I'm kind of glad that those guys aren't there, and Ajax and Porto are there on merit. I do agree. I think it is, on paper, it's set up for what I think the money men would love to see, which is a Ronaldo v Messi matchup in the final. But there's so many pitfalls along the way, and nobody's really talking about Spurs either. City fell at this stage last year. I just wonder if Pochettino's got something up his sleeve against Pep.
Craig, nobody talking about Spurs yet. Let's talk about them a little. How do you see that matchup with City?
I see City winning.
That easy?
We've got better players. I mean, where are we? I mean, by the time these games kick off, how the hell do we know who's going to be playing? You know, City are already without Fernandinho, and they've had injury problems with De Bruyne. Tottenham have had their problems with injuries, and they've got not as a deeper squad, clearly. So, you know, just throwing mud at the wall here. I mean, it's a guessing game. I'm going for City. City have the best squad left in the competition when everybody's fit. OK, they don't have the best player, because Lionel Messi's the best player, but City have the best squad when everybody's fit. And I think that's why they're favourites. If they were to lose over 2 legs to Spurs, it would be one. Of course, it would be a huge blow to them, but it would be a big coup for Spurs. But I don't see it happening if City's big players are fit and well.
I think that's the thing. It's about who's fit and or who's injured more to the point when these games kick off. And as good as Spurs were against Borussia Dortmund, and as much as they have players coming back in that may make them stronger, City's squad still a lot stronger, a lot deeper. And Ali was making this point a couple of days ago. If Kun Aguero, who has his own issues with injury, though he's been far more consistent of late, if he's not in his squad, Gabriel Jesus hasn't proven to be the kind of deputy we thought he would be when he first burst on the scene at Manchester City. That's their biggest concern.
Jules, what do you make of Spurs and City? We're not giving Spurs maybe enough of a chance here?
No, I think they will have a chance, but we saw in the Premier League that with the goal from Riyad Mahrez that City went to Wembley and won quite comfortably. This could be different for a few reasons. First, this should be in the new stadium. Whether that's an advantage for Spurs or disadvantage because they wouldn't have played much in that new stadium before, we'll have to see. They will also face each other 3 times in the space of 11 days because there's also a league game at the Etihad between them two. So it'd be quite fascinating, I think, tactically to see how they approach both the 2 Champions League matches and also the one in the league.
Ale, you had said United, Barcelona's the closest of the 4 for you, right? Do you guys agree with that? Do you see it that way?
No, I'm it's closest to the 4. I'm trying to think this through now, but
there's only 4, Shaq. So.
Yeah, but I mean, as much as I understand your point, look, and as much as United got through against PSG, they were second best against PSG by some distance. PSG, they were the architects of their own exit from this competition. So I'm still a little bit torn as to what I'm expecting from United against a team like Barcelona, who surely won't be as complacent as PSG were.
Yeah, I've heard you. Go ahead.
No, I think the closest is, I think to go back to this, I think the closest is City and Spurs. Julian made a good point about them playing each other 3 times, setting up all sorts of scenarios. But also, I agree with Craig. City have a much better squad. But you know what? City went out at the quarterfinal stage last year. They had a much better squad than the team they beat last year. Than the team who beat them in the quarterfinals last year. That was also a pressing team in Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. So, over 2 legs, if you're talking about who can hang with them and not get blown away, on paper, I think Spurs have as good a shot as any of the other quarterfinalists, if not better.
Yeah, Ajax so good against Real Madrid. Is there anything there that we might expect a similar repeat performance against Juventus, who's obviously, admittedly, right now in a better place than Madrid?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the performance at the Bernabeu obviously would have set off major alarm bells for Juventus. I mean, as I said, the alarm bells should have been ringing based on the fact that Juventus have been terrible for 6 weeks, and then they pull off this incredible performance against Atleti. But it's going to be a very different type of opponent, an opponent that plays a very different brand of football than what they face with Atleti. Max Allegri will need to be prepared for that. But I also think that what really lulled Real Madrid into that incredible complacency was the fact that they won the first leg. I don't think Juventus are going to be complacent at all at any step.
Yeah, speaking of Juventus, right? You see what they do against Atletico Madrid in the second leg, and the question comes up, why don't they do this all the time? Is there an easy answer there?
No, and I think this is the single biggest indictment of Allegri. And I know he's a toast of the town right now, and he was absolutely brilliant in how he set up and whatever else. But how can a team that is so much better than everybody else in Serie A on paper and in terms of resources and wage bill, and even in this Champions League, you go back, you ask yourself, gee, when did Juve actually play well? You might conclude that they played well for a half against Manchester United at Old Trafford, and they played well against Atletico Madrid at home. And apart from that, we haven't seen that. And look, if Allegri were like Diego Simeone, who says, cholismo, huevos, I'm going to go, we're going to defend deep, and we're going to outmuscle the other team, then that's fine. But Max Allegri doesn't preach that. Max Allegri keeps talking about the need in Europe to go out there, to impose your game, to dominate the opposition, to be in the front foot. And yet, we just don't see that at all, ever, except for that second leg against Atletico.
Doesn't say much for the rest of Serie A, does it?
No.
If they've been terrible for 6
clear,
weeks,
yeah.
so as Gab said, and they're 18 points clear. I mean, seriously? Oh, yeah, I get it. I mean, I know they've probably not been at the best, but 18 points clear. I know the Scudetto is not the most important to them thing at the moment because they won. You signed Ronaldo to get over the line in the Champions League, but hell on fire. I mean, 18 points clear, and they haven't been playing well for 6 weeks. Step up to the plate, the rest of Serie A, for God's sake.
The death of
Give me a chance here, man.
The death of Juventus had to be against Atletico Madrid in the circumstance in which they found themselves. Now that they got themselves out of that, then good luck playing against this team. They're not going to fall against Ajax. It may be later on in the competition, but I think this team have found something here that they can translate into success in the remaining games here. It's not going to. Their letdown won't be against Ajax. Not after what you did against Atletico Madrid. I see Juventus now perhaps as the most dangerous team in this competition simply because they were on the precipice of death. That's it. It was over. It was gone. See you guys later. Allegri was going. Ronaldo had failed at Juventus. All this pressure. They come alive after that, and now good luck dealing with this team from here on out.
Do you know what? Out of all these teams, and we all know, I'm not so sure about Porto, but they all play this great attacking football. Maybe Juve not so much recently. But as funny as it seems, the team I'm looking forward to watching the most is actually Ajax. Because I was so impressed by what they have done in this competition this year, and particularly what they did at home and then in the Bernabeu, that their style of play with the youngsters that have got on the side, particularly De Ligt at centre-back and De Jong who's gone to Barcelona, and Tadic's performance, and there were several others. I don't think ultimately they'll go through against Juventus, but they ain't going to cower and try and play some defensive game. And I for one, am actually looking forward to, because I know what City are going to do. I know what Barca and Messi are going to do. You know how the other great teams are going to play. But can this Ajax team put another performance on? And I know Madrid were hopeless, particularly at home. But can they put another performance on for 180 minutes? Because that was rock-star material, the performance they had at the Bernabeu.
I think the moment that they get that rhythm that you're talking about, that's when a guy like Chiellini comes around and disrupts that, and it just becomes more about fouling and tactical awareness and all these things that Juventus just does just about better than everybody else, even left in this competition, that uglies the game, that makes it ugly for everybody else to watch, but it doesn't matter because it's effective and it's pragmatic for them. If Juventus gets that right, I just don't see it.
Tell you what, if Tadic puts another performance in like he did in the Bernabeu,
well, then,
he's flying KLM out of Holland in a one-way ticket. I'm telling you.
He's not coming back.
He's booking it.
Speaking of great performances, obviously Ronaldo gets the hat-trick in the second leg. Sid, I'm curious, what was the reaction in Madrid to that performance, seeing him do it now in a Juventus shirt?
Yeah, well, let's put this into context, shall we? The two big sports papers in Spain, they're both Madrid-based, admittedly, and they're both certainly lean towards Real Madrid over Barcelona, but both of them ran with huge Cristiano Ronaldo front pages. The following day, these two newspapers, which claim to be the defenders of Spanish sport, didn't run with front pages of Barcelona getting through and being the only Spanish team left in it. So that tells you something about the response. The response was excitement. The response was a sense that, wow, he's done it. And not just that, of course, it was obviously tinged with a little bit of sadness because, of course, Real Madrid had just ended their run of being European champions 3 years in a row, over 1,000 days. And you look at what Juventus had just done against Atletico Madrid, and that reinforced that idea that a lot of people in Spain already had, which is that Real Madrid's fundamental problem was that Cristiano Ronaldo is not there anymore. Now, that would be very reductionist. It's not their only problem. It may not even be their one biggest problem, but it's certainly one of them, and that was how it was read after Ronaldo did what he did to Atletico Madrid. Of course, then, from an Atletico point of view, more than anything else, it was just the disappointment. And for the first time, you know, really serious questioning of Diego Simeone.
All right, then let's take a look at the recent title history of the last 8. Of course, Barcelona, the most recent winners of the lot, back in 2015. Juventus last won it in 1996, when they, of course, beat Ajax in the final. And City and Spurs looking for their first Champions League crowns. Well, you'll have to wait till April 11th, but the Europa League quarterfinals just around the corner. Well, you'll have to wait till April 11th, but the Europa League quarterfinals just around the corner. Arsenal drawing Napoli. Winner of that gets Villarreal. Valencia's winner. Spanish team's looking to continue their dominance of Europa League. Other side of the bracket, Benfica, Eintracht Frankfurt. Winner of that gets the winner between Chelsea and Slavia Prague. Gab, the big one here, really, Arsenal, Napoli. Both teams were hoping to avoid each other, and they could not.
No, and I think it's going to be a test for Unai Emery. Obviously, he's got a tremendous track record in this competition. Equally, I'm leaning Napoli for the simple reason that I think the onus for Emery, if you look at where Arsenal are in the table, they want to finish top 4. And they're sucked into that race for the 4th spot. Napoli know that barring some miracle, they will probably finish 2nd this year in Serie A come what may. They might possibly slip down to 3rd. But that allows Carlo Ancelotti, who obviously has a tremendous record in knockout competitions, to go and really prepare for this. And this is something that's hugely important to Napoli and Napoli fans, possibly more so than it is to Arsenal supporters, though maybe not to Unai Emery.
We just saw there, Napoli, the favourites according to the bookmakers. Craig, you agree?
Yeah, I think they're slight favourites, but or big favourites, whatever way you want. What was the bookies again? I don't know. I wasn't looking.
So, no, it was pretty close. Pretty close. Slight favourites, Napoli.
Look, Napoli are going to get Champions League football next year through the league position. Arsenal, it's a big grey area whether they will do that or not. They could still possibly do it, but I think it'll be tough. So it is another avenue, along with Chelsea in this competition, who are also in the same predicament, to get Champions League football through the Europa League and winning the Europa League, which is not going to be easy, but it's not impossible, as Manchester United have shown recently. In any given day, Emery sets his team up. He throws a curveball. I've said that a lot about him. He's capable of throwing a curveball out there to get a good performance, to get a result. However, I just feel this Napoli side under Ancelotti have got more know-how, and they've got a better squad of players, and I think that's why they are just favourites in this.
Jules, Arsenal here juggling the quest for the top 4 and Europa League. How do you suppose they're going to prioritise this in the coming months?
I don't think they will. I think they will play. They will play all games, whether it's the 8 remainings in the league, 3 at home and 5 away from home, and the 2 against Napoli. 100%. I don't think Emery will rotate massively. On the other hand, I think Arsenal were disappointed to see the order of the games reversed, and the second leg should have been at the Emirates, which would have been a huge advantage in such a big game. And in the end, they will go to Italy in the second leg, which is not the same story, obviously. So on that level, maybe the top 4 will look more likely for them than actually going all the way in the Europa League. But they will still fancy their chances.
They have to travel better, won't they? Bate Borisov, poor performance. Rennes, poor performance. Got away with it with the home games. Won't get away with it. I know Naples will be the second leg. We just won't get away with that kind of performance in a place like Naples. It just won't happen.
According to the bookmakers, then Chelsea the favourites to win the Europa League. Shaka, you see it that way?
As the draw comes out, yes. Yesterday, speaking about it, obviously pre-draw, I thought Arsenal and Napoli probably were playing better football than Chelsea. But with those two getting drawn against each other and Chelsea getting Slavia Prague, yes, I make Chelsea favourites at this point. It's Chelsea to lose, who now kind of saved their best football for the Europa League. As Steve was saying yesterday, I'm still not overly convinced about their form domestically. But the draw certainly has been kind.
Chelsea 6th. I mean, should they be shoving their chips all in here at Europa League?
Have a game in hand as well in the Premier League. And so... But when you see the sort of performance that they had against Wolves, you go, oh boy. I mean, barely getting a shot on target, barely getting a point at home, very slow with their possession, predictable in the attack. And then maybe you sort of fall in love with what's going on in Europa League if you're a Chelsea fan and you think, well, that's the Chelsea that we can be. I think the difference is that the opposition that you're playing against is not nearly as good. So to the point of being paired up against Slavia Prague, well, it makes sense that Chelsea would be the favorites and they should advance in this competition. Once they get into the next level of play, whether that's Napoli, whether that's Arsenal, whether that's somebody else that maybe challenges a different type of Chelsea, that's when we'll really see whether this team is good enough. Are they? They're probably they're probably the favorites, but I'm not comfortable with Chelsea as a team because I don't know what version of that team we're going to see.
We know every manager's under pressure. However, Unai Emery is not going to lose his job at Arsenal, having just come in to replace Arsene Wenger after 20 years plus. However, I know Maurizio Sarri has just come in, but it's a completely different set of circumstances, primarily because of the ownership and other scenarios. And this could be a bacon saver for him, because if the league form, as Ali mentioned, doesn't pick up, then he can easily sell next season to his owner as Champions League football. So although they've got this transfer ban, which is a nightmare for the club, and Sarri hanging over him, at least this could take some pressure off.
And the weird thing is, he's making changes in the Europa League. He's playing his young players, which he refuses to do in the league, yet getting better performances. So I'm really not sure what Sarri's thinking here.
So everyone on this show has filled out a bracket for the Champions League last date. We only asked for that in Europa from one man. That's Gab Marcotti. Gab, you have done your Europa League predictor here. Why don't you walk us through your picks?
Well, I think you guys went through Napoli and Arsenal. I have Napoli edging that for many of the reasons that we talked about. I think Villarreal have bigger problems right now, so I have Valencia going past them. And I have Napoli overcoming Valencia to get to the final in the bottom half of the bracket. Having watched the Eintracht Frankfurt game on Thursday night, I don't think this is a good side at all. And I think Benfica, despite being involved in a title race domestically, I think they can get past them. Chelsea favorites over Slavia Prague. I think Chelsea-Benfica is going to be very, very tight. I think that might be possibly the likeliest upset that we might see, really, probably in this whole tournament, if it happens. But I do have Chelsea going to the final. Maurizio Sarri taking on his old team. Carlo Ancelotti taking on his old team, and Napoli winning it.
I mean, that must have been hard for Gab.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, that must have been so very difficult. The only thing that could have made it more difficult is Mauricio Pochettino was involved. But other than that, picking Napoli over Chelsea must have been difficult. I agree with the fact that Napoli against Chelsea, I would have picked Napoli as well.
5 Premier League games on the weekend. Bournemouth hosts Newcastle, Burnley hosts Leicester City, West Ham host Huddersfield. All those on Saturday. And then Sunday, Liverpool visits Craven Cottage.
Do we have to, hold on. I got a question. Do we have to pick our fantasy team or not?
Do you guys have to pick it? Yeah, you got to pick it.
Okay.
You got to do it every week.
Well, it's not a full session of games, that's all I'm saying.
So there we have it. The top half of the Prem. Liverpool can go 2 points clear, although City would still have a game in hand should they pick up the 3 points against Fulham. Here's a look at all the FA Cup action this weekend, quarterfinal. Well, the repercussions of PSG's shock exit in the Champions League still being felt. Here's what Kylian Mbappé had to say a few days ago. I'm sure to be here next season with all of the problems that this elimination will cause. It is pointless adding my personal situation to that. This way, it is clear and accurate. Not all that clear and accurate, apparently, for Real Madrid's president, Florentino Perez, saying, I'd take them both when asked about signing Neymar or Mbappe. Zidane is French, so with Mbappe, he could do something, no? That's one reason why he could get something out of Kylian Mbappe. Julien Laurent is also French, so let's see.
Can he get Mbappe?
Can you get anything out of Mbappe? What do you think, Jules? Any chance Mbappe moves?
No chance at all. I mean, I think Real Madrid could try, and they probably have the money to sign him, although the money that they will need to pay for him probably would cover the whole transfer budget for the summer, so I'm not sure that's the idea for them as well. But listen, I've said many times on this show, he will one day play at the Bernabeu for Real Madrid. There is no doubt, but not next season. It's too early. He's only 20. He's happy in Paris despite what happened against Manchester United. He will still be there next year. I expect him to even be there the following year as well. But there's no doubt that one day he will play there, but not now, and there's no way PSG will sell, and they don't have to sell either.
What about Neymar? We hear this all the time. Neymar, the only other place he seems to be able to go to move on to from PSG would be Real Madrid. What about that possibility?
Again, for similar reasons, I don't think it will happen this summer. Again, it will cost the whole transfer budget. I don't think that's the idea for Real Madrid. I think he feels like he owes PSG a bit more because he's been injured between February and the end of the season for the last 2 years. Well, this season and last season. And also, I think this year with Thomas Tuchel is a different dynamic for him in Paris. He's happier than he was last year under Emery. He feels more at ease in that team, in that city as well. And I think, PSG, again, don't have to sell him. Even for financial fair play reasons, they can keep him and keep Mbappe as well. They will sell other players. And I really believe that he will still be there next season as well.
Neymar and Mbappe would obviously fit into anybody's plans. But Sid, give us a window here. What are Madrid's actual plans for the summer?
No, well, I mean, this is the point. You can want to sign these players all you like, but if you come up against a club like Paris Saint-Germain who just will not sell, you're not getting them. You're not getting them. And the reality of Real Madrid's transfer policy, you look over the last 4 or 5 years, basically since they signed James Rodriguez, they haven't signed a Galactico. That's an economic reality. That's not just been about policy. There's a reason why they go and sign Vinicius as an 18-year-old instead of wait till he's 25 and the best player in the world. There's a reason why they've been interested in Rodrigo, for example, and they've brought him in and buying him very young. This is all about a policy that is to do with an economic reality. And so you can't just go and say, here you go, have 500 million euros and please give us your 2 best players, because Paris Saint-Germain are going to say no. Now, would they like them? Yes. When Florentino Perez was asked about these two the other day, he was on his way into a dinner arranged by Esteban Granero. It was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. The question was, listen, if you had to choose between Neymar and Mbappe, who would you take? He says both, which, by the way, I remember years ago being the answer to the question Kylie or Brittany that Ronaldo gave. So that tells you something about what the answer really means. It's just a joke. And then when it was said, Zidane could do something, he's French, this was put to Zidane today. He said, well, don't know about that. Of course I like him. Of course I'd love to have him there. But they know that there is a reality there. If they pushed for it, it would purely depend on Paris Saint-Germain. If they thought there was a chance, yes, of course they would go for it. And they've been very, very keen to talk to Neymar's camp, to make sure that Neymar's father knows that they would like him, to make sure that they're in pole position should it become a possibility. But they know, of course, in this situation, that they're not in control. They're not in the driver's seat here.
Lots of talk about who could be coming to Madrid. What about those potentially leaving Madrid? Gareth Bale's agent, Jonathan Barnett, had this to say. He wants to play all his career for Real Madrid, and if it does not work out, we will talk again. Gareth wanted to play one way, and Zidane wanted to play another. That was the cause of it, and over a period of time, it got worse. You let Gareth play the way he wants to play, having a run of games in a row, not in and out. He can be right up there with Cristiano Ronaldo.
No.
Okay. Craig, those comments, what do they do for you?
Well, if Zidane wanted to do it one way, which was successful for him, then he's going to probably want to try and do it personnel, up front, depending on the personnel, which is pretty much the same. Obviously, maybe the legs of one or two are slightly hampering them more than they were 18 months ago. But he's going to want to do something similar. So he's not going to change for one player. One player who at times has been exceptional and at other times has been average by his standards. So, clearly if Bale wants to stay at Madrid, it'll be a contract-based stay because he's within his rights to do so. But I don't really see, unless there's a massive upturn in form and relationship, how it's going to be different second time round for Gareth Bale under Zinedine Zidane. As for Ronaldo, nobody on this planet should be talked about in the same breath as Messi and Ronaldo. Facts will tell you that at the moment.
I'll let you see it similarly. Not that Bale can't be Ronaldo, but just that this doesn't seem to have a positive ending. If it did before, certainly not now.
No, because we've had multiple opportunities for this to take its rightful path to success, and it hasn't. There's been plenty of moments where Gareth Bale has done a lot of good things for Real Madrid, but has not been able to sustain it. And so whatever negative energy there is against Gareth Bale, either by the fans or the media or Real Madrid, whoever it may be, Zinedine Zidane, whatever the case may be, it's to the point now to where there's no coming back from it. Gareth Bale went out there after winning Champions League, and his first comments to the media were to the point of, well, whether I'm going to stay here or not. That in itself, when it was your moment, when you had just scored a bicycle kick, and you can put yourself in a situation where you can make yourself human to those fans, to those people, to whoever it is that have been critical of you, you missed that opportunity. Ronaldo walked out the door. There was no other, it was no longer a situation where you can say, well, Ronaldo's not giving me a chance. He's no longer there. This was your year, and it didn't happen for Gareth Bale. I think, again, it's to the point of no return. In my opinion, Gareth Bale has no place in Real Madrid.
Gab, I hear you in my ear. You're ready. What do you got? What do you got on Bale?
Oh, just quickly, look, he didn't just have issues with Zidane. He had issues with Ancelotti and issues with Santi Solari as well. Very different types of people. It's really difficult to sell him because he has an enormous contract and teams won't want to take on those wages. The one way you do it, maybe, possibly, Graham Hunter and I wrote about this, maybe you convince him to say, look, Arjen Robben was in your very similar situation 10 years ago. He had his injuries. People were questioning him. People were wondering whether he had a future. He was up and downs. They knew there was a great player in there somewhere, wasn't coming out. What did he do? He moved to Bayern Munich. He resurrected his career. He won a Champions League. He was tremendous. Gareth, it's not going to be here, but if you actually care about football, there is another big club that'll take you. You'll have to take a pay cut in exchange for a longer deal, but you will be given a chance to show the world that you can still be Gareth Bale, just like Arjen Robben did.
Sid, are we missing something here on Gareth Bale? Is there an obvious outcome here?
No, there isn't. And actually that statement from Jonathan Barnett, I think, sums up the position of Gareth Bale's camp over the last few years. Notice 2 or 3 key points in there. Number one, the desire that he plays in the role that he wants to play in. There isn't a suggestion there that, he'll do what the manager wants. There's no attempt to kind of find a meeting point in the middle. It's, with Bale, you need to play him in his position. You need to give him continuity, and he will be as good as Cristiano Ronaldo. And those 3 points are the fundamental point of everything that Gareth Bale's entourage have believed over the years. And at times, Bale has played brilliantly. And at times, we have wondered if maybe this could happen. And when Ronaldo went in the summer, I must admit, I was one of those who thought, well, here's the opportunity. And it hasn't happened. And as Gab says, it's very difficult to find a way out now. Put in very simple terms, 3 elements: salary, price, age. 3 reasons why it's not that easy to get Gareth Bale out of Real Madrid, unless, as Gab says, unless someone gives.
Xhaka, he'll be 30 in July.
I suppose you could throw injury into that as well, couldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, where's the place?
Yes.
Where's the place for him? Yeah. Where does he go?
The only place you can see Manchester United, who were very interested in him when he signed for Real Madrid. They certainly have the money, they have the budget. Maybe they're trying to refresh their squad, new manager coming in, maybe wanting fresh faces and a bit of experience. And that star power. Outside of that, I'm not sure who goes for it?
But they've been linked with, certainly I've read quotes about Jadon Sancho, and I think United are certainly, in my opinion, are probably going to, yes, they want to bring in quality players, but like a lot of clubs, looking to bring in younger players. You know, younger players who they're going to get good value for money, who they can see progressing. Like Ronaldo when he came to United as a youngster under Ferguson, and he progressed, and he was a very good player. And you thought, well, how much better can this guy get? And he goes to Real Madrid, and he becomes an absolutely great player. I think United are. I think it's for all the reasons Sid mentioned, and the injury scenario that I said there, that would concern a club like United going for such a big splash when there are younger players available.
Are you gun-shy, though, by learning what just happened with Alexis Sanchez? That you made that investment and you say,
yep,
wait a minute, we thought that this was going to be somebody who was going to produce for us, and now we've seen what he has become. If you're Manchester United, you're in that sort of, do we go after another old guy or do we go younger? And in that transition, in that sort of doubt, that's when perhaps Gareth Bale slips through the cracks.
And by the way, and everybody's now going in at Man United, anybody worth their salt, and saying, £200,000 a week, you can get stuffed. I want what he's getting, or more. And there's the big problem that they've given themselves.
Yeah, but I thought I heard you chuckle when we made the United-Bale connection. Why?
Oh, no, it's just funny because you use the term refresh. If there's one thing that Gareth Bale is not, it's refreshing. More seriously, United had many chances to go after Bale seriously. I think it's very telling that they didn't, with the likes of Martial and Rashford and Lingard and Alexis, who for better or for worse is still there, Mason Greenwood then coming through and attacking midfield. They have so many guys that why they would possibly go for Gareth Bale just makes no sense whatsoever.
All right, Jules, you're going to get the final thought here on Gareth Bale. Where do you see him ending up?
I see him at Real Madrid next season. I think, like the boys have said, they have a huge problem on their hands, and it's not one that you can solve very easily. I think Zidane, being so good at man management, can maybe get the best out of Gareth Bale, and maybe those two can make peace in a way for the sake of Real Madrid and of Gareth Bale, because, like we said, there's still a lot of talent there, and it's a shame that it's so much wasted.
Gareth Bale and Zinedine Zidane, 11 games left to make that peace, Jules, as we take a look at the top of La Liga. Barcelona 7 points clear. They'll face Betis on Sunday. Madrid, in Zinedine Zidane's return to the bench, will take on Celta Vigo on Saturday.
Will they be wearing those denims?
I don't know. It happens.
I hope not.
Short longs or long shorts.
Maybe
you once made a joke about my pants that were...
Well, but that's different.
Yeah, your pants and Zidane pants.
You're just short.
Juventus 18 points clear of top Serie A, but the big game of the weekend, AC Milan, Inter Milan, separated by just 1 point through 27 games, and they will meet on Sunday. Let's take a look at the odds. AC Milan, a slight favorite there.
Go on, build it up.
Well,
where's the excitement?
Bit downbeat here.
It's a pretty even game. That's what the odds makers say. Gab, who do you think has the edge going into this one?
Well, there's no question that Milan have the edge, not just a little, but by a lot. Really only one doubt for Rino Gattuso, whether to go with Lucas Piglia in midfield. He scored that tremendous free kick recently, just back from injury. Perhaps in place of Paqueta, who has looked a little bit tired, but has been really, really good. He's still finding his feet in European football. But I do think Paqueta is going to start. Milan firing on all cylinders. Piontek 1 goal away from 20 on the season. Even Çalhanoğlu and Suso are contributing now again. And they're up against an Inter side where you've got the long-running Icardi nonsense in the background. You have the elimination on Thursday night, the mere fact that they played on Thursday night, whereas Milan have had the whole week to prepare for this. And it's not just Mauro Icardi, who presumably will be out. I mean, you imagine that mysterious pain in his knee won't go away before Sunday night. But they are also without Raja Nainggolan as well. So we're looking at a situation where João Mario or something like that's going to come into midfield. The one good bit of news is the Inter Ultras were going to go on strike. Now it looks as if they're not going to go on strike, so they will have they will be providing their support. It looks, assuming they don't have a last-minute change of heart. And so what you will have is that tremendous Inter crowd. But other than that, everything points to Milan.
All right, then plenty more from Gab available over on the Siri Awesome podcast, along with Paolo Bandini and Mina Rizuki. Check out this week's edition up on the website. Best of the week available on the website, ESPNFC.com. I believe this week's edition has just been posted, so get over to the website and check it out. Speaking of, let's check out.
Let's get
to what we promised the people, the bracket predictions. Sid, we're going to start with you. Walk us through your Champions League Final 8 bracket predictions.
Well, look, we were talking about this earlier on, and while I think probably the Man City-Spurs game is the one that I think is the closest of this round, and most of my friends are Spurs fans, and they're all hugely pessimistic, and today I was telling them, don't worry, you're going to beat City, but when it came to it, I didn't go for that. I've gone for the 4 that you would expect. Then maybe in the semi-finals, I don't know if I have gone for what most people would anticipate. I think Juventus will get the better of Manchester City. I think Liverpool will go through against Barcelona, and maybe it's because I see Barcelona more often than I see everyone else, but that means that I see those little touches of vulnerability to them. And then I think Liverpool against Juventus in the final, and Juventus finally end their long wait for a European Cup.
All right, Gab Marcotti, you're next. Go.
Yeah, so obviously Juventus against City, real toss-up. I have to say, I was guided in this by storyline. I'm a journalist. I like to tell stories. I'd love to see a Messi-Ronaldo final. So for that reason, partly for that reason, I have Juventus getting past Man City in what's going to be a very close semi, and Barcelona getting past Liverpool in the other one. And then in the final, it's Messi, it's Ronaldo, in Madrid, no less, and I have Barcelona edging it.
All right, Jules, you're next. Who do you have winning it all?
And it's unfortunate for me that I go after Gab because I've got the same predictions as Gab. But I was just said the last time we did the predictions all together after a draw was before the World Cup. And you know who got this one right. So I think it would be a Ronaldo-Messi final, and I think Messi will win it.
All right. 2 picks for Barcelona. Juventus. Craig, you are next.
Right, here we go.
Jog the memory.
Yeah, I've gone for Man City. I think Man City Tottenham were a great game. Gone for Man City. Gone for Juve to go through. Gone for Juve to play Man City in the semi-final. Barca and Liverpool in the other semi-final. Barca just to top Liverpool. And I'm going for Man City to beat Juventus. A Manchester City-Barcelona final. And all being well with injuries and a full and healthy squad, if that's the case, I think it could be Man City's year.
All right, Craig's got City winning it. Alejandro, you're next.
Manchester City, Juventus, Barcelona, and Liverpool. Barcelona gets past Liverpool because, well, they don't have Lionel Messi. Manchester City gets past Juventus because they are a better team, and Cristiano Ronaldo comes up just short. Manchester City against Barcelona in that final. I'm going to go with Manchester City. This is their year. This is the best team left in the competition.
All right, so 2 out of 3 on the desk say City. Shaka, finish this out.
I'm going to agree with the boys here. The 4 favourites go through, and then Manchester City get the better of Juventus, Barca the better of Liverpool, and then in the Pep Guardiola Champions League final, Pep Guardiola wins. City.
Wow.
So that'll be all. Everything we've just done, it'll be the opposite.
Yeah.
And you
Thank it.
This is important. Why are you taking notes? What are you going to do with this? You're going to keep this and bring it up whenever we do it?
I just wanted to make sure that it was written down somewhere.
Well,
Okay.
it was on a graphic.
Yeah.
Somebody put it on a graphic.
We saved the VHS tapes from the show.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Give it up, man.
All right.
Love those
That's all the
tapes,
time
really.
we've got for this
Just in
show
case.
and my notes. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey there, everybody. Welcome into Extra Time.
What the hell's that?
Well, if we're going to do it, we might as well do it well, right?
Do you want to do that again?
No. I can't see that again.
Hey.
I cannot see that again.
You never even pay attention to what I'm doing. What are you talking about?
Even by your standards, come on.
So what's he doing?
It's extra time. We got to have a little bit of fun.
Can I take your power away? There you go.
Oh.
That's all right. We're gonna put that over here.
Once saw a guy.
Now I just have no idea what's happening.
Once
I don't
saw-
even know what.
Take this away.
Remember when you used to have a laptop?
Apparently, one guy opened up and the camera was on him and he went like
Really?
that. Not in our show, because
okay.
wouldn't be allowed.
Right.
You'd be dragged outside and
Really?
bad things would be done to you.
Okay.
Because that's just. just not acceptable. Just nonsense like that.
They may be done anyways.
Right. So next, when I get my notepad back, I should write in, don't do the chest.
Don't do that spinning around thing either. Yeah, cut that out right now.
But you thought it was a good idea. So when you were sitting today in your room, you thought, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to spin into extra time and give it, hey.
Can I be honest? I've been working on that since the last time I hosted Extra Time. I was like, well, what are we going to do? We're going to take it up a notch.
So you and Adrian have got something in common then?
Yeah, we
Because he comes in early to work on his colony openers.
Adrian does love, like, long...
Well, there's usually something really corny, but he had a really good one the other Thursday.
Oh, the Bate Borisov.
Yeah. He wheeled that back one in
Nothing
yesterday.
says Thursday like Bate Borisov.
Oh, he rolled that back out yesterday.
Did he?
Oh, he doubled down on Bate Borisov yesterday.
Fair play. Comes in at 11:30 in the morning to roll that.
Let's get to the questions, Craig. This one. Premier League still not the best, with 4 teams in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, question mark.
I don't get involved in best leagues chats if I can help it, because it's really not a fair assessment.
A few years ago, when there were no Champions Leagues, no Premier League teams like in the semis or the quarters or whatever it was, the reason was that was proof that the Premier League was the best because the Premier League is so hard.
They were beating up on each other.
That's right. So now all of a sudden, these conversations come full circle, which is why I'm with Craig. I'm staying out.
How about the one where they're tired because of Boxing Day and the schedule?
Christmas break.
Christmas break. Oh, but now they all go through. Oh, well, hey, we're not tired this year. Not this year.
I really think people should just get on with enjoying their whatever league
Football,
it is.
correct.
Whatever league it is they enjoy, and stop trying to make comparisons, because, you know, they're all their own entities, and, you know, they all drive their own business, and you either watch it or you watch, you know, your own league. It's not.
So you don't fancy the Messi Ronaldo question that's next?
Oh, hit me with it.
Oh, God.
Oh, wait.
Much more detailed is actually our next question from Nadeem.
Let's do the pen as well.
Are you going to take my questions too? Since Sevilla have fired their coach, don't you think Mourinho... You see, people are just having fun. Do you think Mourinho should be interested in that job, as he was raving about their squad being better than Manchester United's last year? Oh, sorry.
Hey!
Gab like that one.
Hey!
Let Gab have it.
Gab, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think?
He's not really asking the question. He's just taking pot shots at poor Mr. Mourinho, who's had to deal with the disappointment of getting fired from Manchester United, and, you know, has been on this rather pathetic world tour of broadcasters where he pops up in a different country, talking in generalities, because he's not allowed to talk specifically about his old job, because then he'd have to give some of his payoff back. Look, you know, you made your joke, that's fine. If you want to turn it more serious, I would be intrigued to see Mourinho go back to basics, go back to what it was like even before Porto, to see him work with a team with very limited resources, and see what he can do, see if he can build it back up. But you know what? I'd love to see every top coach go and do that. I'd love Pep Guardiola to do that. I'd love Ancelotti to do that. I'd love all these guys who've managed all these big clubs saying, all right, you've done it, you've won with big clubs. Can you go back, knowing what you've learned now after 10, 15 years at the top, can you go back to a smaller club and do it again? Would you enjoy it? Would it stimulate you? I'd love to see that one day, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Pep to Pescara, very well. More Mourinho in our next question. Jay wants to know, would Mourinho be exactly what PSG need to move to the next level in Champions League? He would be looking for a club at their level, and they do need a manager at his level. Jules, this sounds like it's right up your alley.
Just leave us alone. Don't try to bring Mourinho to our club. Leave us alone.
Leave us alone.
Demar has the next question. Why does ESPN no longer do player ratings for Arsenal? Does that mean you guys...
Well, it's Thursday. I was off. I'm not... It's not
you guys no longer consider them a big club? Yeah, we have a committee that just sits around here. And
okay, hold on. Yeah.
We kind of decide week to week who's in the big club. That's Shaka's power.
Whether you're determined, whether you're a big club or not, is all determined by whether we do rankings for you.
So
player ratings, not even rankings, player ratings.
What happens is all the big execs at this company, this global company, come in on a Thursday morning and say, right, top of the list today of what we need to do is are we doing Arsenal player ratings?
Is Arsenal a big club or not?
Is Arsenal... What What rights should we go after? No, that's not. We're not going to talk about rights and the billions of pounds. What we're going to talk about, let's screw up the Arsenal fans by not putting player ratings in. There you go.
Yeah.
There's a big decision.
Mark wants to know.
Maybe people are paranoid, aren't they?
Yeah, or like insecure or paranoid, something in there, right?
Insecure, yeah.
Mark wants to know, thoughts on this Lewandowski stat. Robert Lewandowski has failed to score in 7 consecutive Champions League knockout games. Hashtag Bayern exits.
Well, he didn't get much support, did he?
Gab, what do we make of that stat?
7 consecutive games, so what, he hasn't scored since, didn't score this season in the 2 games they played this season, and he didn't score last season in the knockout rounds? Is that basically what we're talking about?
Yeah. Not scoring in big games.
Largely irrelevant. He scores in other big games, he scored in big games in the past. I mean, like, honestly, statistical variance. Like, if a striker goes, I think it was Cristiano Ronaldo this season before his hat-trick, oh, look, he'd only scored 1 goal in 7 games, right? 6 group games, and you figure in the group it should be easier to score. And he didn't score in the first leg at the Wanda Metropolitano. So 1 goal in 7 games, yeah, that's it. Ronaldo's finished. He can't score in Europe anymore, can he? Even though, of course, he's been the Champions League top goal scorer for 6 consecutive years, and then he goes and he scores a hat-trick against Wanda. Look, Bayern have a lot of problems, a lot of positions they need to upgrade and replace. Robert Lewandowski, I think, right now, is not one of Bayern's most pressing problems.
All right, next question seems like it's earmarked for Sid.
You're not going to say anything, Gab, that Ronaldo was playing against Wanda?
I'm trying to move this. I'm trying to move this guy. We're going to start parsing.
All right, go ahead.
Sid, Eder Militao to Real Madrid. Who's going to sit, Ramos or Varane? Or will he be a bench warmer? What do you think about Real Madrid's new signing?
That's the question, isn't it? I mean, Real Madrid trying to improve the squad, but you look at this and you think, at least in the immediate short term, this doesn't look like a signing that necessarily changes the quality of the team. Although I wonder if there's a possibility that we'll have some movement over the summer with Sergio Ramos. I don't think so, because I think it's very difficult to get him out of there. I think this is more a signing for the future. And bear in mind, this year Madrid have definitely suffered for a lack of centre backs. You know, the first 2 are Ramos and Brand. Sure, that's fine, but they've had virtually nothing in reserve.
Next up for Gab, Inter Milan out of the Italian Cup and Europa League. Do you think Spalletti is done at Inter, and how long will you celebrate if he is gone?
Well, first of all, I just said I think Nacho is now taking you off his Christmas list. But look,
he's been injured for quite a lot this season.
Many issues. That's fine, but still, come on, man, poor guy. But Spalletti, he's one of many problems at Inter. The nice thing about Spalletti is that he's one of the easier problems to replace or to fix, because you don't have to worry about somebody else taking him. You can just go and fire him. And I think, despite Marotta came out in support, because there are rising rumors that if they get the rear ends handed to them in the derby, he may go. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to wait till the summer. But there's no question that I don't think Spalletti's, he's exhausted all the sporting capital he came in with many of his decisions, the insistence on Perisic, the backing Perisic, the continued snarky comments, little giggles about Mauro Icardi and his issues, certainly not helpful. Maybe true, but certainly not helpful. And I think if there's one guy who's jumped the shark, it's him.
Final question.
Yes.
Has to do with PSG for Jules. PSG and Rabiot, how did it get this bad? Is his attitude really the cause, or have PSG badly mishandled the situation? It was bad, and it seems to have only gotten worse in recent days, yeah?
Yeah, I think both are to blame. The club, who seems to be the only club treating a player out of contract in the summer who doesn't want to renew his deal there in that way. And we've seen him with other players right now, under Herrera United, for example, or Aaron Ramsey at Arsenal. But Adrien Rabiot's attitude hasn't helped at all, from being late to team meetings, from being very difficult to deal with on a daily basis, from, going out in nightclubs, for example, after the game against United, where he didn't play because he's been banned from playing with the first team. So I think all in all, both are to blame, but it doesn't reflect well on the club, and I think it doesn't reflect well on Rabiot either.
All right.
You made it.
I made it.
Without taking notes and everything.
You're going to do a little spin around to say goodbye?
Would that make you happy?
No, it's about you.
No.
It's about you. Huh? But you gotta nail it, though.
Got to nail it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll be back tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
FA Cup, I'm sure we'll touch on that.
Millwall, Brighton.
Rugby tomorrow.
Oh, rugby?
Yeah.
Who's
Football's taking a back burner tomorrow.
playing?
So you better get watching.
Yeah. I've been watching the Six Nations.
No, you watch the football, I'll watch the rugby.
Okay. Very well.
England v Scotland, and then the big one in the morning is Wales v Ireland. In the
Wales
Six
had the big
Nations.
upset last time, right?
It's the final. What do you mean?
Didn't they have a big upset, Wales? Didn't they beat England? And it was...
It's not a big upset.
Oh, I thought
Wales are a good side.
I thought it was a historic...
I'll explain it to you all.
Okay,
It's
great.
it's a very interesting sport.
If you want to participate in the conversation, you have to have the historical background.
We won't mention France and Scotland's performances, particularly Scotland.
Okay.
France, Julian's team.
Go on, do your spin.
We'll...
Where's the spin?
There's the spin. I'm spinning right now. So you get...
You know, he didn't work on a reverse spin.
No.
He only been working on a